If there's one thing that we can agree on as Deadlock players, it's that matchmaking isn't exactly perfect, and I think that's pretty much the case for just about every competitive PvP game out there. And that's what I want to discuss in this video, is the matchmaking in Deadlock and the flaws that it currently has, because over the past couple of weeks, a couple of glaring issues with the matchmaking have become very apparent to me as I've tried to do various things like my A to Z challenge, as well as something that I tried out on stream yesterday. And so I want to talk about that in this video, and I would also love to hear your own thoughts on matchmaking in the comments section down below. This is meant to be more of a discussion type video, so yeah, your comments are greatly appreciated. Now, I'm not making this video to declare that Deadlock's matchmaking is outright bad, because that's simply not the case, and when I'm queuing for characters that are within my wheelhouse, that I'm good at, like Seven, Lash, and Viscous, the matchmaking tends to be pretty fair for the most part, with some definite outliers, but most games tend to be pretty alright. It's when I break out of that very narrow spectrum, though, that things tend to go quite awry. And so, the first kind of issue with Deadlock's matchmaking that a lot of people have actually noticed recently is that when you queue for characters that you are not good at, it just throws the matchmaking totally off. And the reason why matchmaking has been more finicky than usual in the past month is because of the 2025 Holiday Challenge, where everybody is trying to unlock these ornaments on their tree, and to do that you have to get one win on every hero in the game. And, well, it's pretty much impossible to be really good at every hero in the game unless you have no job. So, yeah, a lot of people are struggling on the characters that they are not particularly good at, and it is really screwing up the matchmaking on multiple fronts. And personally, I think that the skill rating for each individual hero should have more of an influence on the level of match that you get. So let's take a look at an example here. Holiday is now my third least played character. Previously, she was my least played character, and I got to her in the A to Z challenge and just had an absolute nightmare of a time. It was not fun trying to play her. I had 7 games on her when I started, out of 1,300 matches of Deadlock that I've played, so needless to say, my skill on this character is very low, and indeed, she is lowest relative to skill rating. However, the game just didn't really care, and so it was putting me in matches with a rank basically equivalent to what I get for Seven, Viscous, and other characters that I'm actually good at. So for context, my rank right now is Ascendant 4. I actually deranked because I lost 6 games in a row on Holiday, so that wasn't particularly fun, but I was Ascendant 5 when I was queuing most of the Holiday matches. And so for characters that I'm actually good at, like Seven, it puts me in Ascendant 5 lobbies, and sometimes slightly lower Ascendant 4, Ascendant 3 level lobbies. And then for Holiday, my very first match of Holiday here, the game also put me in an Ascendant 3 lobby, which just does not make sense to me, because, I mean, the skill rating difference between Seven and Holiday should be astronomical. Not only is Holiday one of the most difficult characters in the game, but I also have basically no experience on her, and the game wants to thrust me into the same rank lobbies that I play characters that I'm an expert at, like Seven and Lash, and that just does not make sense. At the very least, I should be a full rank division below where I'm at right now. So if I'm in an Ascendant 4 lobby with Seven, then I should be in a Phantom 4 lobby with Holiday. Bare minimum, if you ask me, because I have not had the time to accumulate the skill needed to play Holiday at an Ascendant 3 or 4 level, and so I have no idea what the game was thinking putting me in matches like that. And it's really not fair for anybody involved. It's not fair for me because I'm going to struggle and just have a miserable time trying to play Holiday to the same standard as Seven despite me having no experience on her. My teammates are not going to have a good time because they have this sandbagging trash Holiday player on their team who's throwing the game, and then it's not fair for the enemies either because they kind of just get an easy win against me because I suck at Holiday. And so all of these factors have actually been throwing games off a fair bit, and even if you are queuing on your main character, there's a chance that somebody in your lobby is going to be playing a character that they just absolutely suck at, and they probably shouldn't be in your lobby, to be all that frank. And so I think that these skill rating arrows need to play more of an effect on the rank of the match that you actually get on a character-by-character basis. Eventually, the game did put me in a Phantom lobby. 6 losses and a full D rank later, which frankly I just don't think should be the case. And even then I was still losing, so I'm probably an even lower rank Holiday than that, which is sad, but I mean, I had 7 games played on her before I started this A to Z challenge, so of course I'm not good at her. Now, I suppose the counter-argument to what I just said about the arrows affecting the rank of the match that you get put in on an individual character-by-character basis is that if you are truly an Ascendant 5, Ascendant 6, or even an Eternus player, then you should have a level of game sense and macro-level skill that should make you fundamentally okay at just about every character in the game, and so you really shouldn't be placed in a full division lower than where you currently are right now. But I don't think that argument really holds up that well, because even if you are really good on a macro level, there's still a lot of micro level skill that goes into this game, and there are a lot of very difficult characters that require a very unique skill set. Holiday requires a completely different skill set to 7, and so even though I am an Ascendant 6 level 7 player, those skills do not transfer over to Holiday, and my micro-level gameplay is so bad that I do need to be a lower skill division for that character. Yes, it is a skill issue, and that's precisely why I shouldn't be at the rank that I'm at. Now, a more serious counter-argument is that the arrows aren't always right. Again, take a look at my Viscus. He's for some reason rated as low relative to skill rating, and I have other characters that are rated as high relative to skill rating that probably shouldn't be there either. And yes, that system does honestly need a bit of tuning up. It's not always precise, it's a little wonky. But I still think that even despite that, the arrows should play more of an effect on the rank of the match you get. Especially if we're going to be issuing challenges like this, where the game is encouraging you to play every single character in the game, even though basically nobody's good at every single character in the game. Anyways, enough about that. Let's talk about the second major issue with matchmaking that I wanted to bring up, and that is queuing with parties. Now, queuing with parties is always something that's very difficult in competitive games, especially competitive games with as drastic of a rank hierarchy as Deadlock has, because, well, let's say you're a high-skill player, such as myself. I mean, I'm not a great player, but I'm at the very least a good player, right? I'm Ascendant. And I want to play with some friends who are newer to the game, or some friends who have played the game a lot, but they're still like an emissary or something like that. Well, what the heck should the matchmaking do with us? Because we are coming from 2 drastically different skill levels, and so should it put us in an Oracle game, a Phantom game? Would that be fair for my teammates who are lower rank? Would that be fair for me, considering I'm a much higher rank and I would just start stomping the lobbies? Yeah, no, it's never really truly going to be fair. And the interesting thing that I actually notice that Deadlock does is it clarifies whether a match you're in is actually the result of a high skill gap between parties. And so that is actually quite a good thing that Deadlock has done, but it's still not really super fair if you queue in a party with someone who's super high rank and someone who's super low rank. And I'm not sure that there is a way to fix this, but what I will say is that I think it is more of an issue in Deadlock than it is in other games because of the nature of how Deadlock works. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is because yesterday I decided to try playing with viewers again, which is something that I did a lot when I was a Paladins YouTuber. I would do streams basically every single week where I was playing with viewers from my chat, and the matchmaking wasn't always great. As a matter of fact, most of the time it wasn't, like, super great, but at the very least, most of the time it was tolerable, and the matches were okay. But yesterday, when I was playing with viewers, a similar experience in terms of inviting just random old people to the party from the chat of all different ranks. And, the matchmaking was so much worse than my experience in Paladins. And the match you've been watching behind me the entire video is this match of Viscus, where I went 27-0 against some poor Ritualist players, which just should not under any circumstance be happening, quite frankly. Just that was not a fair match, and it's really like the worst matchmaking you could possibly get, and that's why I've been using it as the background footage here to demonstrate bad matchmaking in Deadlock. I was effectively smurfing without actually being on a smurf account. I was still on my main super high level account, and I was thrown into a ritualist match, and obviously I was going to stomp them. I was playing Gun Viscous, and I'm good at Viscous. Like, huh? So, yeah, it feels more volatile than other games, other simpler games. And I think the reason this is because I think the way skill works in Deadlock is kind of exponential, where as you get better at certain systems, your skill is exponentially going to go up much higher. What do I mean by this? Well, when you start out at Deadlock, you've got a million different systems, and you're clueless about most of them. If you're coming from other FPS games or other MOBA games, then you might have a slight leg up in terms of either shooting people, reaction times for parrying and other stuff like that, or a slight leg up in terms of like macro gameplay and farming and things like that. But still, you're not very good. But then over time, as you start to get better at certain systems, they're going to improve your efficiency across many different aspects of the game. You're going to become more efficient at farming, you're going to become more efficient at fighting. And if you become more efficient at farming, then you will also be more efficient at fighting just by the nature of having more money. And if you're better at fighting, then you're also going to be more efficient at getting souls, because you're going to be killing more people, and then you're going to be ranking up even more. And so, the skill gap between someone who's in Emissary and someone who's in Phantom or Ascendant is going to be very large compared to a much more simpler game where you don't have these interweaving systems that all combine together to make a more efficient player. I think, hopefully I've explained, I guess, the hypothesis well, but that's kind of the idea I have as to why queuing with a party in this game can be way worse for matchmaking if the skill gap is too great than it is in a game like Paladins or Overwatch or a game like that. These issues do still exist in other games, but I think they're magnified in Deadlock because of how many interweaving systems are going on, and how being good at one thing and then being good at another thing will make all these other things better and just exponentially make you a stronger player. Now, if you are queuing in a party of other people at the same rank, then it's not really going to be a problem, especially because the higher up you go in Deadlock, the more likely the random people are on your team to actually come together and strategize together, which is a really great thing that I actually appreciate a lot about this game, is the willingness that people have to actually, calm things and be like, let's go mid, let's do this, buffs are up, stuff like that. It's really just the parties where, even if there's like a minor rank gap where you have like an Oracle player and an Ascendant player together, something like that, it really starts to cause a lot of mayhem. And unfortunately, that's also the reason why I am never going to do viewer games again, unless matchmaking receives some very major changes. And even then, it's probably just not a good idea for me to do viewer games on my channel, as sad as it is to say, because it used to be a staple of the channel, but now I just don't really think it's feasible, because what I witnessed yesterday was honestly criminal, and I immediately left the party and went back to solo queue after that match, by the way, because, I felt really guilty for what I did to those players. The reason why I continued to kill those players was just to end the game as quickly as possible so that they can move on to a more fair match, because that was not fair in the slightest, and I do apologize to those 6 players. You did not deserve that. Lastly, I want to talk about the ramifications and repercussions of the rank update that they did a couple of months ago. If you weren't around back then, or you just weren't paying attention, basically they updated everybody's ranks because the old ranked system was very flawed, and it resulted in way too many people being initiate, and it resulted in it being too hard to actually climb in a lot of cases. And so they normalized the ranks, and they adjusted everybody. Most people ended up going up ranks. I don't know if anyone actually went down ranks. I mean, I suppose that's possible, but most people got a sizable boost up. I went from Oracle up to Ascendant, and well, I was worried at the time about the repercussions of this. I was worried that I didn't really belong in Ascendant lobbies, and in a sense, like I mentioned with some of those characters that I suck at, I don't, but I have grown accustomed to it, and on the characters that I do play well, again, Seven, Lash, Viscous, characters like that, I do feel comfortable with the rank that I'm at. Ascendant 5, Ascendant 6, currently Ascendant 4 because of the A to Z challenge, but you know, we'll get back up there eventually. And I do think that that update ended up being pretty positive for the game overall. I was worried about rank inflation, about Ascendant and Eternus being devalued, about people getting big egos, and certainly there was like a temporary like ego thing, but overall, I'm actually very happy with how that rank change turned out, and I think it did help the matchmaking along, but I do think that matchmaking does need a little bit more fine-tuning for those characters that are out of your comfort zone, like I explained earlier. And so, if I were the Deadlock devs, I would be looking in that direction to try and make it so that the next holiday challenge they do, or any other event like that, will go more smoothly and won't mess with the matchmaking in such a negative way. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video, so leave your thoughts about the matchmaking in the comments section down below. I would love to hear from you, and I will be reading as many comments as I can. Also, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you found this video to be interesting, and also, if you really want to support the channel and help keep me making content for you, then consider joining the memberships program linked down below. I finally updated the memberships video. That one hit an editing snag, but we got all that sorted, and so, yeah, there's a bunch of perks. I would really appreciate it if you would check that out, but with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.